Can be an awkward, quiet 2 minutes. Reminds me.
I'm riding bridges, so I have to clean the yard before it smells again.
Good evening, April.
Oh, I gotta do that.
You're welcome for the reminder.
I'll show my leaves right now. Just a paste.
Yeah. Ooh. We did a little bit before, and then there was a section I forgot.
Just trying to keep my assessed values low.
Did she share it with this drawing?
I ended up going to the yard waste
Easy
place,
recipe.
and one of the piles of like
Yeah.
yard
Thank you.
shrub stuff was behind her. And I called Stephanie. I was like, "Are you working?" She's like, "I never worked." I was like, "Should this be?"
I think some of it spontaneously combusts.
Apparently, that's a thing. I learned a lot from there.
Well,
Stuck in the side of my garage that for years.
you're sitting down.
No worries.
What's that?
That is loud.
Do we have a problem with the mic? Is that what?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, just a couple more seconds, folks. Let the clock turn.
Which one is that?
Okay, I will call to order the Chisholm City Council meeting, November 8th, 2023, 5:30 p.m. Good evening, everybody. Susan, would you please take roll call?
Yes. Counselor Halverson?
Present.
Counselor Merkel-Raha?
Present.
Counselor Fountain?
Here.
Counselor Halaba?
Present.
Counselor Vaki?
Here.
Mayor Lance?
Here. And council, I would look for a motion to adopt the agenda. One addition would be to put number 3 under myself as a working session for the HRA.
Motion to approve with that addition.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public participation. We have Jesselyn Sabin talk to us about the bringing light to Chisholm. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thanks for having us. I'm here representing the Chisholm Downtown Revitalization Group. As you may remember, we've hosted the Bringing Light to Chisholm event since 2020. It was actually the brainchild of Key Christensen. It's been a well-attended event over the last several years. We're seeking support to, again, offer the event this year on December 14th. What we'll be asking for, I believe in the agenda, is to close Main Street from Snickers down to the savings lot, so those 3 blocks, so that we can host activities. Some of the same activities that we've had in the past. Some of our favorites will be there, including the animals from Coast Country Connection, the Mrs. Claus reading stories at the library. We're going to have other businesses participating with different activities like cookie decorating, face painting, s'mores, and other activities for the family. This is a group effort. It's been held in participation with other businesses from downtown and many other organizations, including the Public Library, Chisholm Trails, Parks, Trails and Recreation, the Chisholm Chamber of Commerce, the VEMA Group, 30 West, Gym Sports Club, and numerous other businesses that have participated by decorating their storefronts and offering different business specials and things like that evening. So we're seeking the closure of the street, and then we're also looking to have Ryan from Independent Electric dim the lights on Main Street so that all the different lights that are going to be in the trees and in the storefronts will be more apparent. So I believe he's done that for us in years past. Yeah, the event is centered on showcasing our holiday spirit and the town, and so thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to another good event this year.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
Greedy Ben.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll love it.
No
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I don't have a name on here, but Ms. Welby, were you going to speak this evening?
I
Do
can.
you want to? Well, somebody asked us if you wanted to, so.
I just wanted to speak on reference to Fifth Street. I don't want the sidewalks moved because you're gonna widen the street anyway. It's gonna make my sidewalk closer to the street anyway. When the plow goes by, they're gonna plow all that snow onto my sidewalk. I'm the only one that shovels from my doorway to the end of the street so that my school agers can get on and off the bus safely. Otherwise, they're climbing over big snowbanks, and if you do that, I can't plow through that or shovel through that. There's no way. Unless you're gonna get a machine that comes down every sidewalk and clears it for everybody. Otherwise, it's too hard to move. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. Council reports. Councilor Alverson. Good evening.
Good evening. I attended a park board meeting last night, and then Monday night, Bridget and I met with Range Trailworks, Eric Carlson from Range Trailworks, to recap the work he did at Redhead this year and to start planning for next year.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Fulton, good evening.
Good evening. I have no formal report, but thank you.
Welcome. Councilor Baki, good evening.
Good evening. I just have one thing. I just came from a community foundation meeting, and the 15th annual CCF wine tasting is going to be held on Friday, December 1st at Valentini's from 6 to 8:30. This is also the last wine tasting that Keyboard is going to put on. So make sure you get your tickets. You can get your tickets by calling Keyboard or going to see Paul at Keyboard. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilor Mikaraha, good evening.
Good evening. No report.
Councilor Halava, good evening.
Good evening. I attended the EDA meeting via phone last week, and I want to thank all our veterans this Saturday on Veterans Day. Thank you for your service, and we're forever in your debt.
Absolutely. Thank you. I also have no formal report. I just want to say, we had some great festivities for Halloween. It looks like everybody was very safe for the most part, and I had a lot of good things up and down Main Street, and hope everybody had fun, everybody was safe. And I would also like to congratulate Dylan Anderson, our first lieutenant on the fire department, for 11 years of service, so thank you, Dylan, for everything that you do for your community. Ambulance Director, Jeff, good evening.
Good evening. I have no.
Okay. Fire Chief Chris, they're up in MDC parking lot doing EVOC training tonight, so he's not here, but I know he would like to say that the main way fires are started are, by the way, we one of the main ways is how we heat our houses and keep ourselves warm. So everybody be safe and look at what you're doing, and make sure you check your detectors. We just had daylight savings, so that's a good time and a good reminder to update your batteries inside your detectors and your CO monitors. Please, Chief.
Just what's on the agenda, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions? Building official, Mandy, good evening. City engineer, Jim.
No report, other than I am on
No. Public Works, Larry, good evening.
Evening, Mayor Sam. I got quite a few things on the agenda, so.
Okay. Parks, Trails, Rec, Bridget, good evening.
Good evening, no report, just what's on the agenda.
Library Supervisor, Katie, good evening.
Same thing, no report other than what's.
Lots on the agenda. Counselor Lindsay.
No report, and I've got nothing on the agenda.
He's a counselor, right? He's counselors all the time. It's attorney. I'm always call him attorney, lawyer, then the jokes start. Any questions for Brian? No, okay. Clerk Treasurer, Eileen, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I have no report. Thank you.
Come on, Eileen.
City Administrator.
I said that to her once,
Steph.
too.
Good evening. I'll do a quick report on the state funding that we've received at the last legislative session, just so the council's aware. We have been, at this point, we know the reps that we have from the state, so we're working through that process on the allocation that we have received. And just a quick update on the public safety building. That is moving along well. They're getting that winterized to be able to start in the inside with the weather that we've had. Looks like next week will be better, but so that is moving along well, and if anybody's interested in doing that, please let me know. That's awesome.
Excellent, thank you, Steph. Okay, council, moving on to consent agenda. Looking to approve list of bills, communications, which include October 19th, 2023 public PUC meeting minutes, library use data, 2023 meeting minutes of previous city council meeting, October 23rd, public hearing meeting minutes, October 25th, regular meeting minutes, payroll, and overtime. If there's no corrections, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I noticed one thing on the PUC, Commissioner Champa was apparently there, but isn't listed as a present.
Good catch, he was there, I think. Yeah, he was there for the last one.
That's corrections anyway.
Yeah, he was there, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, correction.
Just a small correction.
All right, with that correction, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Make a motion with the correction.
Thank you, Jed.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. No unfinished business. Moving on to new business. Tiffany. Ambulance Director. Good evening.
I have one thing on the agenda today, and that is just a request to replace our current billing company, UNSMC, with hometown billing out of Hibbing. I do have hometown's contract in here in case you have extra questions.
Did you want to come and just say hi and let us know a little bit about hometown billing?
So Hometown Billing has been in business since 2018, but we were founded with a group of women who worked at Advantage Billing that was established in Hibbing. So we have a combined 40 years of experience. We have certified ambulance coders, and I've met and talked with these guys about issues that you're having with your current billing company, and we even found some solutions during some of those meetings. Some of the things that are different, that would be different than your current billing situation, we just charge a flat $28 a run. We don't take a percentage of your runs, so you'll be saving money.
Yes, even on the Chisholm to Hibbing, it's about $1.
Yeah, so you'll be saving money. We have also established, like within our practice, account review that rotates between people. And so you wouldn't end up in a situation where you have large outstanding accounts, and we would be communicating with Tiffany about anything that wasn't paid and actions that need to be taken. So one of the decisions that we talked about is that you do have a large amount of outstanding debt with your current billing company. And if you wanted us to start fresh at a certain date, we could do that, or we could work on some of the old accounts. And on old accounts, we normally charge $45 an hour or 8% of what we collect. And I think that would be something that you guys would have to really talk about. Some options if you went for the $45 an hour is we could cap it at a certain amount and like check in to see like the progress of things going on. because sometimes those phone calls can be lengthy. So I just would want to be really transparent about the work being done.
So currently, the billing company that we use was based in Minnesota, and it's been absorbed by a company in North Carolina. One of the problems is some of our billing, Medicaid, hasn't made that transition as smoothly as it maybe was expected to. And customer service-wise, we can drive to Hibbing if we have a problem, as opposed to trying to leave a voicemail with somebody in North Carolina. So customer service, money savings, all benefits to switching.
And you do have the ability to collect on some of this outstanding debt. Different insurance companies have different time limits. So I think that deciding what you want to do and like what you want to work on is going to be important. But I know for your Medicaid that as soon as your paperwork is resolved, you'll be getting a large payment within 2 weeks.
Do you have any questions in particular?
Go ahead, Marty.
So is the $45 an hour rate for those types of services, is that in here?
Yes.
Hey, Council, any other questions?
I had some pretty extensive talks with Tiff about this stuff. There's a lot of money out there we can recover, so this is a must. The whole billing system we had before is a mess.
The company got absorbed to
Right,
another company,
right.
and the company that we're billing with now is not the company we originally signed a contract with.
And they don't know what Chisholm is, so.
Yeah.
So, right, Council, unless there's any other questions, I would look for a motion to approve the contract and with hometown billing.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Second?
Thank you, Marty. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Council, with that, I did just talk to Brian, so I would look for a follow-up with a motion to direct Brian to sever the contract with the previous billing company.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion?
Sure.
One question, do we have to do a roll call with it being an ambulance issue?
Oh, great.
That's right.
Well,
I get confused.
on, so,
Financial.
yep. For this though, there's no members of the council that are benefiting directly. It's more of an administrative process. It's not the same as buying a new piece of equipment or setting salaries or anything like that. I think our vote was fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. It's good to have a reminder. Okay, all those in favor?
I have a more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good.
Brian,
Yeah.
when you're working on severing the contract with the current company, is that gonna affect us going after the money that we haven't gotten yet?
No. No, it won't.
So will we be able to recover money? So say that there's money out there, it's out of that time scope, the scope of time, I should say. So can we go after them because if they breach the contract? That makes sense.
So, Mayor, if I may,
Please.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds on it because it could bleed into some strategy theoretically. But with collections of funds that are outstanding, they are accounts receivable that the city has a right to collect, and it doesn't matter who collects them. It's we've provided the service, we're entitled to payment. There may be some discussions about the collection and where and how it happens. The only place where we may run into services, I understand that there could be some things that are maybe aging a little bit, and I know that there's specific statutes of limitations or collection periods that you're allowed to submit. The only place we're really going to run into any issues is if some of our services that we've provided, if the billings have run outside the collection periods,
Right.
then we may need to come back to council and have a bigger conversation. Otherwise, we should be okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for you and council. Do we have an estimate of how much money that we need to recover from those outstanding bills? Do we have some type of estimate?
So part of it is, the majority of what we can find that we're missing is Medicaid specifically. And the difference between how much we can bill versus how much we're actually going to recoup is quite a bit. So, the last time we were able to find good numbers on it, it was right around 80,000.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tiff. Chief Manor, evening.
Good evening.
Good
Honorable
evening.
Mayor, Honorable Council. You can see on the docket, I kind of spelled it out, but what we're looking for is, and I gotta give Captain Bouquet the kudos on this. He's a wheeler and a dealer, and he was checking the prices of squads next year and equipment, and obviously, everything is going higher than what, or expected to go higher than what we anticipated for next year. So he was trying to make good use of what he could find this year, and we did find a leftover, or he did, leftover squad. So it's this year's Tahoe, which is gonna go up 8,000 next year. So we're anticipating doing is if we purchase it this year and equip it this year, we save on all that. That's when we have the budget meeting coming up, you can take that out of the budget for next year. We'll save on the budget for that on the police department. We do have the funds in the police department right now to pay for that, so because we're under budget, so it's kind of a win-win. And with the strike and that was going on, we're not sure availability and what pricing's really gonna do, what they expect, and I think it'll even go higher. So I thought it was due diligence on Mr. Bouquet or Captain Bouquet to spend money wisely, and we're just looking for a motion to purchase that vehicle for next year, this year, and the equipment for it.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for you. Okay, so we're asking, just to clarify, 40,000 for the vehicle,
Yep.
right? And is that a state, did you get that state bid contract?
Yep,
Okay,
that's a state bid contract,
And then-
which was actually cheaper than the Explorer that we bought this year. It's a bigger vehicle. So it was, yeah, it was kind of
is it a Minnesota vendor?
yep, sit right in here.
Okay, oh, beautiful, that's great to hear. And then 15,000 for all the,
equipment, yep.
okay, so do we need to make just 55,000 one motion, or do we need two separate? What do
I think
you,
it's just a purchase, this is budget change.
Yeah, it's a budgeted item, so, and,
I mean-
so I would just say for the improvement of budget, or to purchase it.
Yeah, and the motion, Mayor, if I may,
Please.
the motion could be to acquire and equip for a cost not to exceed.
to acquire and cost not to exceed $55,000?
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Thank you, April.
Well said.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Captain Bouquet.
Yes.
Consultant Engineer, Mr. Johnson, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you.
Good evening. If you would turn to page 19, your council agenda, if you'd like, I'll quickly take you through the pay application number 8 for the public safety building. And we'll start, if you would, in column G, where we'll be going through how we calculate the fee for Adolphson Peterson, which is a construction fee, which if you look down the left side is under line number 22, the second portion of that. In that column G, if you were to add up all of the figures except the fifth one from the bottom, which is their construction fee, which reads $32,468.15. What we're going to calculate is how we arrived at that fee. If you add up all of the other numbers in that column, you'll come up with one, as you see at the bottom, it's $1,887,791.09. If you exclude that one payment of $32,468.15, add everything else up, that number is $1,855,322.90. And then if you take the 1 3/4% times that number, you come up with that number of $32,468.15. Then if you'll go to column I, the first column, which reads the top total completed and stored to date. When you get to the bottom of that column, which you'll go back to when we go back to the cover sheet, that is the total work completed to date, as we talked about, which is through the end of October was $5,058,067.95, which you see there. In order to find out what the retainage would be, do not include the top number in that column of $618,700. Then as you go down about lines 20 through the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th numbers from the bottom, which start with, exclude these four numbers, the $127,000, the $117,000, $41,900, $86,273. Excluding that one at the top and these four that I just mentioned, the total then becomes $4,066,430, probably a few odd cents. And times that number, you take the 5%, which is the retainage that we'll be looking at on the first page again. That retainage is $203,321.54, 203,321.54. And again, at the bottom of that column, if you added up all those numbers, is that total completed to date, which is that little over $5,058,000. And if you'll go back one page to the cover page on this, we'll quickly go through that left-hand column. As you see on items number 1 and 3, the original contract is just under $11,200,000. Then on item 4 is that total work completed to date plus materials on hand of the $5,058,067.95. Line 5 is that retainage that we just calculated of $203,321.54, which gets carried down, such as the total earned to date of that $5,058,000 less that retainage is the total earned less that retainage, as you see, is $4,854,746.41. The next line shows the previous payments on payments 1 through 7 pay applications of that slightly under $3,055,000, such that the current payment due per this pay application is $1,800,174.94. 1,800,174.94. And the balance to finish is really that total contract minus the total work completed to date, which you see is just over $6,345,000. With that, I would be happy to try and answer any questions that you might have.
Spelled it out so nice, I don't have one.
No.
Good job, Jim.
Yeah. Great.
Well, if it gets
Anybody
too
else?
long-winded or you're no longer interested, please say so.
It's all valuable information.
Oh, that's perfect.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, I would look for a motion to approve pay application number 8 in the amount of $1,800,174.94.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jim. Yes.
And that is just looking for direction as to what the council would like to do relative to the placement of sidewalks along the 5th Street South project. What I'm hoping to do is that in 2 weeks I would be able to bring plans and specifications to the council for approval, authorization to bid, with the intent of bidding about the 3rd Wednesday of December, which is the 20th, and then hopefully awarding, if you have your second meeting in December or your first meeting in January, getting the contract awarded so we can get materials ordered and hopefully have everything on hand in order that construction could hopefully start about May 1 next year. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, but I'm looking for direction from council as to how you would like us to proceed in terms of the placement of the sidewalk.
Thank you, Jim.
You know my bias already, so.
Right? I think I've pounded down what my opinion is. I'd like everybody else to share theirs, kinda.
So, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
So I had an extensive conversation with Larry today, which was very, I was appreciative of, I was throwing some ideas at him, plowing to the middle of the street and other different scenarios on how we could plow snow. In particular, I was asking him about that because it basically would push me whether I would agree more with leaving them where they were or trying this out. At the end of the day, I believe that we should try this out. I think that the plan that he has in place is very similar to how he does Lake Street. And if you've never seen how they do Lake Street, it's not that they don't drop the wing on the sidewalk and they have a smaller skid steer that pushes the snow into the road. So that's what would go on the curb to push the snow into the road, and then they would clean it up from that point. So knowing that, I think we should try this. It's a 2-block attempt. All the sidewalks, once the school's projects are completed, all of them around this entire area will be curb sidewalk. So it's consistent with the sidewalks around the area. Again, it's a 2-block radius. I understand the safety concern. I get that. But those sidewalks are already used all the time. And luckily, there's been no issues today. So I support it. I think we should try it. $2,500 is a minimum cost to make a small change in a plan. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to give it a shot.
Thank you, Travis. Anybody else? Marty?
I'm in favor of the traditional design, sticking with the traditional.
I guess I'm not in favor of changing the plans just because of the money. We can take that $2,500 and spend it elsewhere too. I'm all for change, but right now we should just keep it the way it is.
I would prefer to keep the sidewalks the traditional way.
Well, I got a couple questions. I'm always
Sure.
full of questions. So, on the map here, Mr. Johnson highlighted some existing sidewalks that are behind curbs in residential and public space areas. So I appreciate this, and my question would be to Larry and his crew. So, do you guys clear these specific areas already? The way that he said that you would do with this newer, the newer 2 blocks?
With the new design, we would be more able to do it, more in an efficient manner as well.
Were you guys aware of these existing?
Yeah, so you already do it, Lake Street and 1 block off.
Correct.
That's mainly what this shows.
And then there's some down here too, but maybe they didn't know that we actually had those.
Well, that's just very little. It's not like a connector, per se.
One of the things, well, as my request for council action indicated, I had forgotten or did when I first started working for the city of Chisholm back in 2008. Had not paid any attention to know that sidewalk existed along the east side of First Avenue Northwest from just south of 6th Street up to 8th Street. The one that I think, as I put in my request for council action, I think the one that's very relevant is the one along 5th Street Northeast in the northwest corner of that Lakeview addition. Mainly because part of my concern with this is that if you start doing in one residential neighborhood, it's going to be expected all over town. This particular location from Trunk Highway County Road 67 or 4th Avenue up to 4th Avenue, I should say. Yes, up to 4th Avenue. Along that north side, There's no real property on it. The property is owned by the city of Chisholm, and it was placed there because there's that drainage ravine that runs immediately north of it. So to me, and it's, you know, serving that whole area. How many people use it, I don't know. But to me, if you were looking for an experiment to try, it made a lot of logical sense without taking on kind of the responsibility. If we do it one place for a residential area, we need to be doing it all over town, regardless of where the sidewalk is at. So that was the reason Steph and I talked about it, and part of our reason for maybe this is the experiment you were looking for, an example or an experiment. And I thought this made a lot of sense because it did not imply taking on any sidewalk clearing responsibilities in other residential neighborhoods. So, just my thoughts, my bias again, I apologize.
We hired you for your expertise, Jim, so we want your opinion.
Yeah, I think April brings up a good point, that if we do this and start plowing the sidewalks down here, we think we're probably obligated to start plowing all these other sidewalks as well. And every time we do this, well, we're just adding more and more sidewalk to plow that we may or may not be putting a burden, more extra burden on our staff.
And I would concur that there's a difference whether we're in a residential area versus a commercial, institutional, school area, churches and so forth. There's a whole different level of usage, if you will, for that, and a whole different atmosphere of what kind of a neighborhood are we creating.
Yeah, I think school zones, business zones,
Yeah,
nursing
schools,
home,
churches,
where you've got a lot of traffic coming on and
on a
off,
regular basis,
yes,
and
right off the curb into the facility. Churches.
Okay, so April, your opinion was?
Well, listening to all of this, I think we should just, my personal opinion is, if we're just doing the 2 blocks closest to the lake up, I don't think that goes to your guys' block, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so.
Blocks they're doing.
it's actually about 4 blocks in
Four
length.
blocks?
Well, there's actually 3 blocks
Yeah.
with that from Central to First Avenue.
It's
Actually,
a long
it's
block.
a long block.
So it's almost like 4 blocks.
Right, but only doing 2 next year, right? We're not gonna jump in, we're not gonna go west of First Avenue if the school's gonna be doing their
We're going up
project,
to
right?
Second Avenue at this point, and then waiting for the school to finish their plans. Hopefully that's a couple years
Oh, that's
down the
right,
road,
yeah,
that
those
we would
one block off.
continue to the west past the school, so we can coordinate what sidewalks are where
Mhm.
and when, so. And I guess I was unclear, I thought we were talking about the sidewalk behind the curb for the entire 3 or 4 blocks. Or is it just 2?
I was.
I was kind of understanding it was the whole project that you were looking at. But
So there's 2 that said they supported on the curb, there's 3 that said not.
I think going up by the school, it should be
I would
like
agree.
on,
What about across the street from the school?
was that
No.
300 block?
300 and 400 block.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right, 200 and 300 block would be past the school properties, from Second
block are
Avenue
you
to
on?
Fourth Avenue. And that's part of what we'll have to coordinate with them in their design. And even probably, they'll probably be replacing the North Boulevard of Third Street, because the new building, as I understand, is coming right, going across the parking lot, across that soccer field, and will be right up to the existing sidewalk. And I would anticipate, whether it's on Third or down on Fifth or somewhere, well, I think there's some internal bus unloading zones as well, but there'll be parents' cars and everything else, so I would anticipate there's going to be a lot of sidewalk that may go from the curb right up to the building front or something of that nature, but that's something we'll coordinate with the school at that point. And then when we get those residences on the South Boulevard in that area, that'll have to be a discussion, you know, whether it's behind the curb or back near the right of way. Because there may, on the south side, there may be a lot of parent loading and unloading there as well. I don't know what's being planned at this point. and have an impact on the street width in that particular 4-block area. Those are issues we'll have to address at that time.
I guess my question for everyone is, what's the major concern? I mean, Larry was at the last meeting and he said that if you lined every single one of his guys up and asked them, they all supported trying this out. And they're the experts. So, I guess I'm just, I mean, it's a small sample. It might be great, and I understand that maybe 10 or 15 years down the road, there might be a fair amount of sidewalk if it goes well. And if it doesn't go well, well, it's a small, little sample.
It's in front of my house.
Well, I wish it was in front of my house.
So my thought also was like loading, unloading, you know, what about people, there's people who unload their cars at their residential homes, right? There's a lot of people that have to get their kids out of their backseat of their car. You know, you either have a boulevard on one side full of snow, and then you're unloading your child. Like, so I'm not sure as your daycare, when people drop off, do they pull their kid out of the driver's side into the street, or do they unload their child on the passenger side where the snow built up?
In the front of my house, I shovel a really wide path so the parents can pull up there and get them out of the car and walk right up the sidewalk. Plus, I shovel all the way to the street so that the kids can walk off and on the bus.
Right, on down the sidewalk. So I was looking,
someone
but
that's
if you have a
gonna plow my
boulevard.
sidewalk for me and I don't have to do it anymore. That'd be awesome.
Right?
I guess
See?
what
Maybe we change our mind.
Well,
That's
she's
what we
gonna plow
anticipate.
it,
You know?
I guess what I would anticipate is part of the feel of a residential area versus a commercial or institutional area. Creating, you know, I think Steph and I have talked quite a bit. We eventually would like to see the water main go back in the street so we could have trees in the boulevard, because it starts to create the canopy effect, which has a calming effect on traffic, slows down traffic as well, creates, you know, a little bit more of a residential type of feel with regards to, you know, at a residential property, I guess most of the properties have a carriage walk that goes right out to the curb, and if you've got passengers with snow, typically you pull up to that point, they get out, you pull the car forward.
You haven't lived in town very long, Jim.
I live out in the country.
Absolutely. That's not how people work.
And I'm
They-
responsible for maintaining
you know,
township
they stop in
roads
front of
out
that sidewalk and that's where they park.
And, you know, that's their choice, absolutely, but it's in front of their residents
Right.
as well. So, I can see that.
Right. All right, if nobody else is unwavering, it sounds like it's 3-2 and 1 on the fence. And even at which, that's 3-3. So unless someone changes their mind, no?
Is this an action item? Are we voting on this?
I don't think we need action. I think we just have to give them direction. You know, so I just. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Moving along. Larry. Good evening, Larry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. We continue to fight through our employee moving and finding the open spot in Public Works. So, pending Scott Overstar's retirement here. So, with that, I ask you on page 22. If I could just put there. Thank you, Susan, again for the resolution. And Justin Backman was the only applicant for the refuse heavy equipment operator #2 position. So by resolution, I look for your support to appoint Justin to that position.
Excellent. Council, I'd look for a motion to approve resolution number 1123-76.
Make the motion.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Justin.
Thank you, council. And then continuing to the heavy equipment operator, truck driver, and utility position. This is Justin's current position, so now this is the current opening. Susan again helped update the position with the newest format, you know, wage, weather conditions, things like that, maybe possibility of working holidays, things like that. So no no changes to speak of beyond just like administrative language and stuff, so format. So we'd be looking for council approval of the newest job description before you, starting on page 25.
Council?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Second.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then, on page 27, we're hoping we found our opening and requesting council action to post internally and externally satisfies the union contract and such. We're confident that this will be the opening, so we're able to move forward with the process. In the event that something was to happen, a change of life status or something with our current employees, they still have the right to sign for this current posting. So they would just be posted concurrently to try to save on time and effort, so.
Okay.
But that, we'd be looking for your support to post internally and externally for the heavy equipment operator, truck driver utility position.
Thank you, Larry.
Just a question. So would you be posting internally and externally at the same time, or would you give the 7 days internal and then post to external with?
Yes,
Okay.
we do it concurrently, so I think Susan has the newspaper ad ready to start next Wednesday. The 7-day posting starts tomorrow. That'll be posted. And if a current city employee was able to post for it and qualify, then they would have seniority over that, any posting that comes in externally, so.
I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure we were.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we do have the support of the union leadership on the posting as well, so.
Hey, council. Look for motion to post the heavy equipment operator, truck driver, utility position internally and externally.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Finishing then with going by the hiring policy to the council would support the appoint a hiring committee, which we talked about in the department head meeting, and Bridget and Eileen offered to help. And if there's anybody else, I know Stephanie's very busy, especially this time of year, you know, Christmas and the holidays. I checked with them and they were both okay with the schedule and moving forward aggressively towards Christmas to try to get interviews in, so.
Okay.
Eileen, Bridget, myself, unless anybody else was jumping at it.
The council, I would look for a motion to appoint Bridget, Eileen, and Larry onto the hiring committee.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Thank you very
Thank you. Bridget. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On the agenda here, I have a few items. The first is on page 29, asking council to accept grant funding from the IRRR for Redhead Master Planning and Connectivity Phase 1 for $500,000.
Woo!
Is that a motion? Council, I look for a motion to approve resolution number 1123-77.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, April.
Good job. Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? Obviously, thank you, Representative Lizagard, all the help that he did with all this funding to help us get through here. So, excellent.
Yes, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Asking council to accept grant funding from the Chisholm Community Foundation for Memorial Park renovations in the amount of $15,000.
Woo! I'm gonna get another woo. Maybe. That's great.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Thank you to CCF.
Yes.
Council, I look for a motion to approve resolution 1123-78.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Marty.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And asking for approval to apply for a T-Mobile hometown grant for $50,000 for Memorial Park renovations.
Good luck to you.
Make that motion.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, this one's not as exciting, sorry.
Absolutely it is.
It is, for sure.
Continuing on, we got the Iron Trail Campground, and this is asking for approval to enter into contract with Kathy and Alan Westby for campground host for the 2024 camping season. Contract is attached.
Thank you. Council, if there's no questions, I would look for a motion to approval and to enter into the contract with host Kathy and Alan Westby.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Second?
Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Bridget.
Good job.
Thank you.
Katie, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Looking on page 38 and 39, looking to adopt resolution 1123-80 to both file for an application and accept funds for an Arrowhead Library System mini grant in the amount of $250. Looking to use those funds to purchase steam kits to be housed at the Chisholm Library.
Woo!
Thank you, Katie. Hi, Council.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Eileen, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Good evening.
Pardon me while I get set up real quick here. So the first item that I would like to present tonight is in regard to our second round of budget amendments. There were 14 in the packet that you received, and I provided letters that detail the changes that we would like to make to the budget. And the majority of departments are just moving expenses between GL accounts within the same department. There are a few that recognize revenues from grants received. So we are increasing the revenues of the general fund budget, as well as increasing expense accounts to reflect those revenues that we've received. It was brought to my attention today, which I really appreciated, some of the narrative on the reasons that I provide on these documents may seem a little unclear, and if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer that. It's really from an accounting perspective, you know, that I'm putting this, these descriptions together. So going forward, I'll do a better job of trying to be clearer, you know, versus from an accounting perspective. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that if anyone has any. So it's really just an informational presentation.
Perfect.
We're going to make these changes in the budget and our accounting system, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so I just want to say this real quick onto my drive because I don't have as many jacks on my laptop that I need. So bear with me, I apologize. Drum roll. done business, yay!
It's accounting, oh,
Okay, good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation of third quarter 2023 financials. Before we begin, I'd like to mention a couple of important points. In the past, I've chosen not to include revenue dollar amounts because revenues don't belong or are not associated with particular general fund departments. I've chosen not to present them because we have very large receipts of income from local government aid as well as ad valorem taxes only twice a year. So if I were to present them in the first 2 quarters of the year, it really wouldn't give you a good perspective about how the city is performing. But I chose to do it this time because I want transparency, I want to communicate all of our financial information so you have a really good perspective about how we're performing. Revenues, however, are tied to particular departments in the enterprise funds. So I just wanted to remind you about that. So let's dive in here. We'll first start with third quarter general fund. Here, I know it's kind of hard to see. Sorry, let me just turn on my mouse. I think this will work. I'm trying to get it big, but everyone should have a copy of this. There we go. So as you can see, our revenues are under expenses in the general fund as of September 30th, 2023 at $61,600 approximately. So I would say we're doing relatively well, considering we're making payments towards the general, or the public safety building. So that's what this includes. Actually, no, I apologize. Retract that. That goes under 401. I apologize. Let's just focus on. There we go. All right, so let's take a look specifically at revenues here. So I identified a few revenue line items. The items in tan are underperforming, right? They're quite far below the 75% threshold that we should be at this time of the year. So you can see revenues and other financial sources are at just under 49%, as well as intergovernmental revenues at just under 59%. And the items that are highlighted in salmon color, those are over where we should be. So those are things we want to pay attention to, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, we're collecting more than we budgeted for. So you can see that under grants and aid from local government charges for services, miscellaneous revenues, as well as other financing sources. This presentation, I added an additional column. It's called weight. So it gives you an idea about how much each of these revenue sources weighs in comparison to the total of general fund revenue. So for example, under miscellaneous revenues, we collected $306,000 of our budget, but it's only 2.5% of our total general fund revenues. So it's really not that quite significant, right? And just to give you some context about revenues and other financial sources, we only collected 48.9%, but that is due to a rental license registration budget we set that we haven't really met. It's fallen quite short, but we'll pay attention to that, keep an eye on that. Under intergovernmental revenues, that only reflects one of two payments we receive for local government aid. So it gives you some perspective there. And then under fines and forfeits, we underperformed in our collection of our fines budget. But as you can see, the weight of that is 0.5%, so it's not a real big concern. Under miscellaneous revenues, we collected, you see we collected 306%. This was due to a workers' compensation premium refund that the city normally receives every year. An audit takes place every year, and we're thus far since I've been here, we've received a refund. So that is sitting in that particular revenue account, but it needs to be reclassed to the appropriate expenses. So that's why it's sitting at that, at 360%. As far as other financing sources at 125, the city sold a lot to 88 Holding, I believe is the name of the entity. And we received more than budgeted in insurance reimbursements. So just to give you some perspective about what's happening. Also, I wanted to mention grant and aid from local government. We collected, we're at 82.88%. This is because of some grant dollars that we collected. The Blandon Foundation grant at $100,000, the Northland Foundation grant at $11,000, and the playground equipment grant at $15,000. So I don't believe those were budgeted. So doing good, really doing good. Any questions on revenues? Okay, let's take a look at expenses here. It doesn't look like it's going to get any bigger. So the line items in the percentage used column that are shaded in blue, those are ones we want to pay attention because the revenues are way higher than what was budgeted. So under auditing and accounting, we're at 101%, but this is a one-time payment, so there's no other expenses that will be reported under this particular department. Under building inspection, we're at 116%. This is just fine because it has to do with the costs associated with building demolition, which are offset by revenues that we collect from the state. So no concern there. In regards to summer youth, we have some budget, you just approved a budget amendment to that department. We incorporated some revenues due to a grant received. So we also increased our expenses, so that justifies why we're at 116. It'll look a lot better once those amendments are processed in the system. I'm sorry, I was referring to some of you, I apologize. Ballparks is at 83%. There was also a budget amendment in your packet that will remedy that issue there. Bocce ball, is it bocce or bocce?
Bocce.
Depends on who you ask.
Is it sauna or sauna?
Exactly. Tomato or tomato? I don't want to sell your So bocce ball is at 550%. And this is because of some budget amendments that you approved in this tonight's packet, so that's going to address some of that issue there. Field house is at 115%. There was some gutters that were installed there. Gas utility costs are higher than budgeted, and then there was a big repair at that location. I don't know, Steph, you want to comment on
Yeah,
that?
there'll probably be a budget adjustment on that at the next time we go around.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly on this is the insurance at 89.93%. We under budgeted for some health insurance for retirees. So that an amendment or a budget adjustment can help remedy that. Any questions on general fund expenses? Mouse is really hard. Okay, so we'll take a look at permanent improvements. I promise I'll make it more quicker. There we go. So, right now, the permanent improvement fund is sitting at 2.174 million above revenues. A portion of revenues that is not recorded in this fund is the ad valorem taxes that we collect. This adjustment is done at the end of the year during the audit, and a big portion of that, those property taxes that we collect goes to the 401 fund. So just keep that in mind, that has not been done and will not be done until next year during the audit. Fund 401 also houses all of our expenses, which we'll get to related to the public safety building. But here, you can see the permanent improvement fund revenues. So the salmon is where we're far above the budget. Intergovernmental revenues is at 158% approximately, and this is due to municipal state aid that we received. We received two payments of approximately $39,000, and this is above what we budgeted. And if you notice under special assessments, we're far below our budget amount at 41%. Based on historical data, I took a look at this account, and we do receive multiple payments in the months of October and December. So I'm hoping that it rises closer to the budget amount. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then let's take a look at expenses here. There's only a few line items in this budget. You'll notice here under highways and streets and roadways, we budgeted 1.192 million, but we've only spent $81,000. And this is because of the 5th Street project that we did not choose to move forward with. So we are way underperforming in that budget, just so you know what's happening with that. Under general government building right above, this is where all of the payments to Adolphson Peterson are recorded. And you'll notice I have two asterisks there in the 75% column because there wasn't anything to compare it to. So I didn't want to put everything in there. Any questions on expenses for 4? We'll take a look at the costs associated with public safety building in a minute. So I know I'm chopping at the bit.
What about the economic development and assistance?
I can touch on that if you'd like. So basically, April, we just need to do a budget amendment because that has been budgeted in in 101. So we just need to do an adjustment on it.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at 101 under economic development, we're only up 38%. So it needs to be changed.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, on to enterprise funds. This one, all of these look really good. Good job, Mary. Okay, under 601, we are at $103,000 approximately revenues over expenses. Looking good in the water department. As far as revenues are concerned, I know it's kind of small. There was one exception. We collected 88.83 in miscellaneous revenues. And that was due to interest. Interest rates are higher this year. As far as expenses are concerned, there were quite a few departments that are underperforming in comparison to the budget. So, good job.
Good.
Good job, Larry.
Excellent.
Let's take a look at sewer. It's more of the same, relatively more of the same. Currently, revenues are under expenses at $49,495. And I believe this is due to, I'll show you once we take a look at revenues. Revenues were right around 75%. So the budget amounts are proving to be pretty much on point. In regard to expenses, interest is highest at 85.93%, so it's supporting those higher rates. But the reason why revenues are under expenses is the timing of the payments that we make to the Central Iron Range Sanitary Sewer District. I believe we paid 2 invoices to them in the month of September. So it kind of pushed the expenses up a little bit higher than they should be. So let's take a look at refuse. That's another word. Larry says refuse.
I refuse to use the word.
Exactly, refuse. So.
Everyone says garbage.
So as you can see here, revenues are over expenses in the refuse department at $80,700 approximate dollars. So looking good there. No special activity going on in revenues. It's right around 75%. And in expenses, all under budget, 71% or lower. So looking good, looking good. Last entity to look at here. Alrighty, campground. So campground revenues are over expenses by $52,767 approximately. So yeah, it's looking good. I'm a participant on the committee along with Marty and April and Stephanie, so we have robust discussions about its future, so I really enjoy this. As you can see, we're over collecting in campground revenues, and this at 84.74%, and this is due to our sales on our Camp Life reservations software. That's where all that revenue is coming from. Expenses, there was one particular department that's a little over budget. It's at 86.54%, but that's depreciation. We're going to make one more journal entry for fourth quarter, so we'll be right at the budget amount next time around. Okay, on to the good stuff. Yay! Let's take a look at the costs. Ooh, no, I still have legal cash. Oh yeah, I did want to present some cash. Here you go.
Show me the money.
Show you the money. Show you the money. So here, I like to give you a perspective about all the city's accounts, right, and where we are today, or at the end of third quarter. And I like to compare it to where we were last year at this time. The real big change is in the general account checking account at the top. You can see we're just under 20% lower than we were last year. And I would say most definitively that's because of our payments to Adolphs and Peterson. So, but if you look at it too, from the weight, yeah, it's the biggest account. It's 26% of all of our accounts. So just to give you perspective about how we're doing. And if you notice that general account savings, the one in red, that is the account that we have committed to for the city's portion of the public safety building costs. We're going to draw from that account That's what we've committed. So you can see at the end of September, we're at 1.817 million approximately. So, let's take a look at the beloved pie chart. Yay! There you go. So it gives you something tangible, right? To see how it all lays out. I know it's kind of small and the pie slices are tiny, but as you can see, I highlighted that general account savings in red at the bottom left-hand side. So it shows you the piece of pie that's going to go to the public safety building. Okay. Everybody doing all right? Information. Last thing I wanted to present is the public safety costs to date. I believe that was in everyone's packet. So I wanted to give everyone a window into how much we've spent on the public safety building project as of the end of October. And one of the things I wanted to point out, first let me just go over it real quickly. The top, we wanted to highlight all of the payments we make to AP right up top, and the months that those payments occurred. Right below that, we also show the revenues that we collected specific to this project, and as of the end of October, we've collected 2 grant fundings from IRRB. You can see that 400,000 as well as 600,000. We have 3 other funding resources that we are in the process of submitting reimbursements to. The first is the State General Fund grant, which Stephanie and I have put together the schedule and the reimbursement request. I have submitted it to our state contact just to get clarification, because there's a lot of rules about the dollar amount that we can request for reimbursement. And they've put together both the general fund and gold bond grants in the same reimbursement fund. So we just got to be careful about, understanding what we're submitting. But I have all the supporting documentation that they require for this reimbursement request. I just need clarification on the dollar amount. So we're just waiting for her response, which I should have one by the end of this week. We also heard from our contact regarding federal congressional spending, Tyler. He said he's waiting for a grant closing instruction document from their attorney. So we're just waiting on that. Until that is finalized, then we can't submit any reimbursement requests. So things are rolling in. We got things under control now. And then here at the bottom of the schedule, I wanted to show you payments we've made related to this project to other vendors. Stephanie, did you want to say anything about these purchases at all? No? Okay. Like you can see Big Trout Lakes was for the land, right? Braun Intertech. I can't even say what that was for.
Yeah, so Braun has to go out there. They're probably on a weekly basis, just assessing the land as the construction goes on. So I guess I can say a few words on it. Those other expenses are outside of the bid amount that we received from AP, so we thought it was valuable for you to see that on the paper. I believe all of these things, if they were over a certain dollar amount, have come to council and have been approved for the project. But just to have it all laid out so the council can see that with the total expense of the whole project, with the AP bid documents, and then also what the other expenses are.
Correct. Thank you, Stephanie. So as you can see at the bottom in the right-hand corner, the city contribution currently right now is $2.32 million. That'll decrease, right, once we get our reimbursement requests submitted to the state. Hopefully by this end of this week.
Yeah. Yeah, the city contribution is not going to change from the $1.8 million that we have had at the beginning. We just are we're just in the middle of the construction season right now, so that number just fluctuates every time that we make a payment, and we don't have a reimbursement back yet. So it will fluctuate until the project is complete. our city contribution until we can get all of our reimbursements back, because everything that we do on this project is a reimbursement base. So we pay it first, then we get the funds back from either state or federal agencies.
Right, and we're very conscientious about the cash balances that the city maintains, right? Because we have other expenses to be concerned about, operating costs, payroll, all of those things. So we're very conscientious about. And I want to communicate that to you as well. So you're aware.
I also want to touch on, Eileen and I have met with Security State Bank that has that savings account that we will transfer into our general fund. That is ready to go. We are ready to make that transaction too. So.
That's it. That's all I got.
Eileen, I did not think anyone was going to be challenging Jim for, the best presentation tonight. But, any questions for Eileen before?
Well, thank you, Arlene. No.
Very good, thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Eileen. You did a good job.
Okay, let's move along now to Administrator Scraba.
Good evening. The first thing that I have on the agenda today is our contract with our consultant engineer Jim Johnson is expiring at the end of this year. I am looking at renewing that for 2 years. I just want to say a little bit about Jim. He is a great asset to our team. He does a great job for the city. I've said it to many people that I don't know what we would do without having him here. He is very detail-oriented, helps with a lot of our projects, very knowledgeable on grant writing, and making sure that we're all on track, especially me. So I fully support extending this contract, and thank you, Jim, for the work that you do for our city. You're very valuable to us.
I would second that. Thank you, Jim. So, Council, is there any questions about what we have in front of us for the contract? I believe that was only a rate change suggestion to reflect with everybody else.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor, for
Thank you.
2-year contract.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Jim. And thank you.
The next item I have on the agenda is a support letter for the Iron Range Brownfields application for the EPA fiscal year 2024. So we're just looking for the support letter that we can send off to the City of Virginia for their application. We have done this support letter in the past, and we're just looking at supporting their efforts.
Council, I'll look for a motion to approve that.
Make motion.
Thank you, Marty.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion?
Can you explain a little bit about it? What the Brownsfield Assessment Grant does? Sorry. I didn't really know what it was for.
So the City of Virginia is just looking for grants and they want letters of support from surrounding communities.
So brownfields is when there's contaminated soil when you're doing development. I don't have a ton of information on this specific grant application, but it's to clean that, to clean the soil or the site that they're going to be doing. If there's been contaminants dumped there, you see it a lot. It's very common, before when they were putting soil, there may be whatever's in that soil needs to be remediated through the EPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you.
I kind of roundabout.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item I have on the agenda, you heard from Jesselyn earlier tonight on the Bringing Light to Chisholm event. I believe this is a great event for the city. We see a lot of people come to town for this event. They are looking to block the street off. We have spoken to Larry on what makes the most sense for his crew, and 3 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, December 14th. There's going to be many events going on. Always the question, are the llamas going to be back? And I believe they are. So that's the most common question I get. I want to give a shout out to the team that puts this together. It's volunteer based. It's a great event for our community. And I will say the first year we did it, it was the most magical because it just snowed. So maybe that can happen again. So thank you for your time and effort towards this, and I support this event. Just looking for a motion.
Thank you all. Council?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion?
Yeah, is it okay if I clarify something?
Sure.
Okay, so we're looking to block off the street, but also declare a citywide festival, because there will probably be booths on the street.
It's in here.
It's in there.
It's in there?
It's in
here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's right.
Well, we'll make sure everybody knows that it's a citywide festival.
Okay, good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, under myself, the first thing we have here is Resolution 1123-81, which is to certify assessments and liens to the county. So if you look on page 76, these are all the projects that we've done, and we're just recertifying the assessments that need to be sent in.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, schedule a working session for the budget.
Can I recommend next week?
You can recommend next week.
No, not Tuesday.
Wednesday. I'll be in the cities Tuesday. I mean, you can have it then, I don't know.
So follow up, let everybody know where we're at, and then so hopefully we can come to a nice meeting. I know we will have, some of our staff will be gone in December, so we kind of want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Next week, I can make any night work. Wednesday was suggested by Councilor Baki. Is Wednesday?
Not available Wednesday.
Not available Wednesday? Tuesday? Tuesday?
Travis can't do Tuesday.
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday. Saturday looks.
Hunting.
No.
Monday?
I like Monday. How about Monday?
What time?
I'm also not available Monday.
It's on Monday.
Thursday.
What's on Monday?
Chance on the-
Thursday works for me.
Oh.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday it is. Does that work for everybody?
Thursday.
What time?
How about earlier?
I have a meeting at 4.
You have a meeting at 4? Is it near City Hall?
It's in Chisholm.
It's in. How about 4:30 on Thursday, and keep your seat warm.
5 o'clock better?
5. I still may be late, but it's probably less late than 4:30. I think that would be pushing it.
Look for a motion for 5 o'clock next Thursday, the 16th.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jed.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marty. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let me just program my calendar real quick so I don't forget. Okay. Next, we're looking at scheduling a working session for in the HRA. Some dates that were thrown out. One of the reasons that we want to have this is to make sure that we have a chance to speak, and questions that are being asked, everybody has a chance to hear answers to, and that we can have some legal representation that can sit in with us and guide us. Obviously, with Trenty having a toe on each side, or foot on each side, it doesn't work out. So we had reached out to Andy Borland from Selman, and he threw some dates for us, which were November 14th, 16th, which do not work. 27th, 28th, 29th, or the 30th, the last week of November.
The 28th or the 29th works, right?
20th or 29th for Cheyenne. Either one of those dates work for me.
We don't have a meeting the 29th, so that's probably a good day.
29th? 5 o'clock? Oh, just waiting for Jed. April?
That works.
Right.
I know.
Marty? Oh, no.
That's all right.
29th, 5 p.m., Wednesday, the 29th.
That works for me.
Okay, so I'll look for a motion for 5 o'clock. Marty, I'm sorry, did I? Look for a motion for Wednesday, 29th, 5 p.m.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries. Moving on. Counselor Baki. Good evening.
Good evening. Try to not be long-winded here. Late last week, I was approached by some people at the school asking me if there was a way for us to get senior class flags to put on our light poles going down Main Street. And as you can see in my little letter there, what I'm asking for is basically just to work with Larry to find out what hardware would be needed for that. I have every belief that the school is going to buy the flags, maybe the hardware too. That part I'm not sure of, but I'm just asking if Larry and I can explore this alongside the school and then come back with what a cost may look like. But they were pretty stoked at the school when I agreed to bring it to council. So I think it would be a pretty cool thing for the students too to be on a flag down Main Street.
Do they get to keep the flag after?
Yeah, if they buy it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Perfect, right?
Right.
We can buy some hardware too.
Win-win.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea.
I support that.
Just asking for, the permission to move forward and involve Larry.
All right, council, look for a motion for that.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Second.
Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Miscellaneous. Anybody have anything under miscellaneous they would like to discuss?
Darn it, I had something.
Hearing nothing, I would look for a motion.
I want to remember one thing about cleaning our community up. I noticed like around town there people are parking on boulevards across town. I know we took care of that one at one time. But our entrance in the west entrance of town here, the old Dairy Queen store, the tattoo shop, there's guys that cut his grass. That truck has been sitting there for how long? The Super Duper store, there's garbage all around that whole thing. The old country kitchen, there's mattresses out back there. Have these people been like ticketed for play? Fern?
Yeah, and the mattresses, that one especially, someone just dumped them there, and we're not sure who, but.
It's been for a little while, yeah. So, it's just for snowflies, we gotta start taking care of that, I think, because I talked to a lady, Pat Kessley, she sent the letter. I talked to her today too on the phone, and she had a lot of good things that's mentioned, plus other people too, so. I don't know what our blight officers gave for tickets out this year and what happened, I guess.
You're looking at what some of the results, a lot of them are in collections right now.
They are, okay,
So we're going through the court process.
okay.
So a lot of them are over 4 and 5 tickets already for the summer.
Oh, okay,
Through the year, so.
okay, cool.
Travis, how's your memory?
Gone.
Okay. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I can remember that.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Have a good night, everybody.
Good, everybody.